two of the biggest brands in the entire game, and that's OU and Texas.
Yep.
For what it's worth, the SEC is revealing their vaunted 8-game schedule tonight for 2024. And, because everybody's so football crazy in every sense of the word, they're promoting it as like a literal event tonight. And how do you promote these things?
Mm-hmm.
You leak out little crumbs here and there, and we just obsess over them. So one of the crumbs that has been dropped is that Texas let me word this better. In 2024, every team in the SEC will play either OU or Texas. So if you're listening right now and you're a fan of an SEC team, you are guaranteed to play one of the new big name brands that is coming in the league in 2024. This begs the question, Aaron Murray, who would you rather play out of those two schools? And I thought long and hard about this, and I actually come out the other side feeling like this is about as easy of a question to answer as we've ever had on the show.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it has to do with, are you going to be on the road or are you going to be at home? I think that has to be somewhat of a consideration. For me, it wouldn't matter, but I know for some people it does. And I say it because of this. Would you rather go to Austin or would you rather go to Norman? If I'm a team that knowing that, hey, I'm going to go on the road to either Austin, Texas, or Norman, Oklahoma, I'm picking Austin, Texas. We all know the excitement. If you got Vanderbilt on your schedule, you get juice. Like, hell yeah, we're going to Nashville.
So wait, you're talking fan perspective. Sorry, real quick. Because I approach this from like, who are you going to beat?
Okay, I'm talking from. I'll talk from both. I'm going to start with fan first. From a fan perspective,
okay, go ahead.
I would rather face Texas, especially if I get to go to Austin. That's a hell of a trip. You get Austin plus actually good football. You go to Nashville, you get Nashville, and you get an absolute ass whooping. So it's even better. It's the Nashville experience on steroids when it comes to playing in Austin versus Texas. So that sounds like a hell of a trip from a fan's perspective. From a player's perspective, I also want Texas too. I'm not shying away from the fact that Texas is probably going to be a little bit better in 2024 than Oklahoma. I'm more of Texas, to me, moves the needle more. The brand moves the needle. I see Texas on my schedule. My blood starts to boil a little bit more than I see Oklahoma on the schedule. Nothing against Oklahoma. Oklahoma has obviously been the more successful team over the past decade. Heisman Trophy winners, playoff appearances,
try
all
3
that.
to 4 decades. They've been way better at Texas for a long time now.
Or whatever. This is still not Texas brand. There's something about Texas and being on your schedule that adds a little bit more juice to it than Oklahoma added in there.
Meal says Norman, Oklahoma, from a fan's perspective, doesn't sound too appetizing. I mean, not compared to Austin. And look, let's be clear. Austin has lost a bit of its luster because it became a bit too cool. It became San Francisco of the South, but it's still way cooler than Norman. Chris H says they have to put Georgia against Texas, best program against biggest brand. Well, that is actually one of the confirmed leaks that we have. Correct, Aaron?
Yep.
Everything you're talking about, the Bulldog fans are going to be treated to just that. As in 2024, the Georgia Bulldogs will be traveling to Texas to take on the Longhorns. I would probably be envious of this from an LSU perspective, but LSU just did this, right? To kick off 2019. They went in Austin, had that offensive battle between Burrow and Ellinger, and Joe Burrow 3rd and 17, kind of where the legend started to, that ended up in the national championship. So it was great. So I'll approach it from this perspective because fan-wise, I'm with you. If you're simply just talking about a road trip, yeah, I would rather go to Austin. If you're talking about who I'd rather host, I wouldn't really care. It'd kind of be a wash. But if you're talking about who do I think I can beat, right? And this kind of also gets into the question of who's maybe better suited to having success in the SEC. I don't believe in Steve Sarkisian. I don't like Steve Sarkisian, right? But ultimately, we have arrived here at a lesser of two evils situation. And so if I'm just looking to win that game in 2024, I believe that the answer has to be Oklahoma. I'm not impressed with Steve Sarkisian's resume, but at least he has a resume, right? Like, he still has 9-win seasons on there. He still has multiple years at multiple big-time spots. I know he is competent. I'm still not sure that Brent Venables is even competent. Is that aggressively said? Yeah, sure. He recruited well over the offseason. But here's the deal. He went 6-7 at a school that had 24 consecutive winning seasons, Aaron. And to be like, okay, well, yeah, maybe there's like a lot of 7. He went 6-7 in a school that had a quarter of a century of winning seasons in a row, and not just winning, but if you look at the past 12 years, only once did they fail to win 10 games. So not just winning, but winning at the most dominant level of any other team in the entire country. And year one, you go 6-7. Oh, but T-Bob, they took the quarterback. Okay, they didn't take the defense, which is supposed to be Brenton Venables' baby. And Oklahoma finishes 8th in a 10-team league, giving up 30 points a game. They finished second to last, giving up 461 yards per game. By the way, Texas actually finishing second in points per game in the Big 12. I didn't realize that. Sneaky good defense from the Longhorns last year.
Yep.
So, no, man, like I think Brent Venables is still a disaster of a hire until he is not, because I just cannot let go of the fact that he also comes from that weird bubble environment that surrounds Dabo Swinney. And we have no clue how he's going to do outside of that place in Clemson that isn't really representative of any other place in the entire country in terms of environment and how it works, what it takes to be successful. So, no, I would much rather play Oklahoma and Brent Venables. And what did Texas beat them last year? Like 48-0?
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that was without Dylan Gabriel. That was without they had no backup quarterback, which is still, I know you lost your starter, but you got Dylan through the transfer portal. You would think you'd have some depth behind him, and he doesn't play in the game, and you get just absolutely throttled by Texas, which is, for the history of that, I mean, from Sam Bradford on to Kyler, I mean, and even Caleb, obviously, you have been one of the most dominant quarterback-driven schools for over a decade. And you're telling me your backup quarterback played that bad versus Texas, a team that you've owned for the past decade? So that was a little bit shocking to me. But yes, Texas, as of right now, is in a better position to head into 2024 season and have success in the SEC. Both should, though. I think we both can agree on this. Talent-wise, they're both of the ratio we talked about the other day. Both will have more talent on their roster than 85% of the SEC. It just comes down to coaching. And it does come down to, is Sark good enough? I'm a little bit more of a believer than you are. I don't think I wouldn't put Sark. Sark will be in the bottom of the half of the SEC when it comes to coaches. I'll tell you that. He ain't going to be like a top 8 coach in the SEC. He's
not even top 8.
Bottom
I might give him top 8. Like I mean, who we talking like? Well, there's clearly the tier 1. Kelly, Saban, Smart, clearly tier 1, right? After that, I'm not going to give him Kiffin. I mean, I think he's like better than Stoops or like Drinkwitz. If maybe only just for recruiting. Hey, look, I'm a Sark hater, right? The bottom line is
somewhere in the middle. He's somewhere in the middle. He is somewhere in the middle. So, but what does that get you in the SEC? I mean, if talent's equal and your coach is towards the middle, fired. Exactly. So to me, he has to have a big time year to kind of start moving his way up that list, but he's way, way more qualified than Venables is right now. And the talent that Oklahoma has, like if you don't see a massive improvement, I talked to someone earlier today about this. I don't think Venables gets fired after this year. You don't want to go into the SEC, firing your coach, having a mass exodus of players because because you fire him, you lose a good portion of your team. And then you really set yourself for a whole world of mess as you get ready to go in the SEC that puts you 2, 3, 4 years behind.
Unless you hire somebody badass, right? I mean, like, what if you fire Venables and hire Prime or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting way ahead of myself. But the point is, like,
or you hire Heupel.
I think it's, I think it's just bad logic to say that. Well, that you think Brent Venables sucks, but you have to keep him around because you're going to the SEC. Like, the better path forward is to go ahead, avoid the sunken cost fallacy, cut your losses, and then go get a big name that is going to be sexy, that's going to be able to get people excited about staying at Oklahoma once again. I mean, Venables was never a sexy hire. It always felt like a reach. It always felt a defensive
hire for an offensive school.
Yeah,
So
and then the defense was still shit last year.
the defense was still
If
shit.
if you're going to be a defensive coach, you should at least scheme middle of the pack success. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they have the most talented defense in the Big 12, but they have, you know, their talent still underperforms statistically. You know,
Yes.
they're not the 9th out of 10th most or least talented defense, right? And yet that's exactly where they ended up ranking. So no, I've said it from day one, I would be absolutely terrified because the answer should be Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been one of the best teams in the entire country for, like we said, a quarter of a century. Texas has been shit since like the 70s, outside of the Mac Brown, Colt McCoy years, Vince Young, where they had a little bit of success. Like Oklahoma has smashed Texas for decades, and yet because of this one bad hire, it now feels like it's all imperiled. So, I mean, if he goes 6-7 again this year, you don't think he's fired? I don't think he's going 6-7 because it feels like it's impossible to.
But if he does,
he would be fired.
If you don't go, I think if he doesn't win 8 games, he could be. It is so hard for me to fathom when you look at that roster and you see the talent, you see what they're bringing back, you see what they got in the portal. Same thing with Texas, that there's no way in hell that they can't win 8-9 games at least.